Alright, let's talk about something that has probably been a part of your movie nights, your late night snacks, or just random cravings. The mighty popcorn. Ever wondered why popcorn actually pops? Like, why doesn't rice explode like that? Why don't peanuts suddenly transform into fluffy little pillows of crunch? There's some crazy science behind this. And today, you get to find exactly what it is. So, you've got a pile of unpopped kernels sitting there, looking completely ordinary. But the moment you add some heat, boom! They transform into these light, airy, and delicious pieces of popcorn. It's like a magic trick, but trust me, there's no sorcery involved. Just physics, chemistry, and a little bit of popcorn genius. First, let's talk about what's actually inside that tiny, unassuming kernel. Every popcorn kernel has three major components. The pericarp, which is the hard outer shell, the endosperm, the starchy part inside, and the germ, which is basically the seed's embryo. But the secret to the pop, it's the moisture inside the kernel. Yup, every single popcorn kernel has a little bit of water trapped inside the starchy endosperm. And that tiny droplet of water is where the magic happens. Now let's crank up the heat. When you heat the popcorn kernel, the water inside starts to turn into steam. And as we all know, steam expands. But here's the catch: popcorn kernels have a super tough outer shell, the pericarp, which doesn't let the steam escape. So instead of just sizzling away, the steam starts building pressure inside the kernel like a tiny pressure cooker. The hotter it gets, the more pressure builds up. Scientists have found that popcorn kernels pop at around 356 degrees Fahrenheit. At this point, the pressure inside reaches about 135 psi. That's almost 9 times the pressure in your car tires. And then, snap, the pericarp finally gives in, and the kernel explodes. The starch inside bursts out, instantly cooling and solidifying into that fluffy, airy popcorn we all love. And that's why you get that iconic popping sound. Now, here's a fun fact. Not all corn can pop. You might think, hey, I'll just toss some sweet corn in a pan and make popcorn. Nope, not happening. Popcorn comes from a special type of corn called Zea mays everta. This particular variety has just the right amount of moisture, the perfect type of starch, and a hull that can trap pressure efficiently. Regular corn, it just dries out and burns. So don't try that experiment unless you seek pleasure from disappointment. Speaking of popcorn failures, have you ever noticed that some kernels just refuse to pop? They stubbornly sit at the bottom of the bowl, mocking you. These unpopped rebels are known as old maids. The reason they don't pop is usually because they've lost too much moisture. It's like trying to blow up a balloon with a hole in it. Ain't gonna happen. Now, let's get a little deeper. You know that wonderful, irresistible smell of freshly popped popcorn? That's thanks to a complex mix of compounds being released during the popping process. Scientists have identified over 100 different aroma compounds in popcorn, including ones that give off nutty, buttery, and toasty scents. Some of these compounds are the same ones found in caramel and roasted coffee. No wonder it smells so good. In fact, some of the earliest evidence of popcorn dates back to around 5,600 years ago. Ancient popcorn wasn't quite the buttery snack we know today. It was likely eaten plain or ground into flour. But still, people knew they were onto something good. And speaking of good, popcorn isn't just delicious. It's actually a pretty healthy snack when you don't drown it in butter and salt. It's low in calories, high in fiber, and packed with antioxidants. So if you ever need an excuse to eat more popcorn, there you go. Alright, that's the science of popcorn popping. Now, if you'll excuse me, I suddenly have a serious craving for a giant bowl of buttery popcorn. And if you do too, I say go for it. Because now you can appreciate every pop, crunch, and fluffy bite even more.